Steve, you alright? How's it going? Like, subscribe, etc. I started off today with no real direction on what I was doing. I'm getting the bathroom done at the minute, so it's really noisy, you know, it kind of disrupts you, gets you out of your flow, that sort of thing. I started playing with some samples that I'm doing for the Biosphere track. I'm putting them on Saturday, and I ended up making an ambient dub techno thing out of classical music, and I thought, hey, well, let's make a video and share how this came about. To make music like Biosphere, or in the style of Biosphere Shenzi, I created a load of orchestral samples, so everything that you're going to hear in this track is actually from this single sample. Now I made this using the cheapest possible sample stuff, which is the Orkester samples from Reason 2 I believe, with a little bit of a template, using some reverb, using some EQ to place things, and stereo spread just to place them orchestrally. So this is a little bit of improvisation. It was just me spamming a few keys, getting some sounds out of it. And the final track that we've got, it sounds like this. So what did I do to achieve this? Well, I sat down on the laptop with nothing else. Oh, that would be the feedback track you've got to be careful of. So I sat down on the laptop with nothing else pretty much going on in my mind and just started playing. And then it was like, oh, look at that, I've made a kick. Oh, look at this, I've made that. And it's like, I'm doing ambient dub techno, at least I hope. So I'll just run through everything here. So to make the kick drum, I used two different samples from the orchestral part. I made them really short, and as you can see, I've got short attack, short decay, because I want to simulate that hit sound. So the first one sounds like this, and the second one sounds like this. Now, what I put on them, I put a shaper, so I could re-trigger that and shape the kick drum. And I just popped utility to knock the noise down. I've got it going through a drum bus, which if you hear it without that, well, it doesn't actually make the gate threshold. It's very low. So when I put the drum bus on it, it put a huge amount of boom on it, so far too much. So I'm just using a gate there to let that through and turn the release up so we've got a reasonable sounding type kick drum. For the snare, it's not really a snare. Again, I've gone with a really short sample, so if I was to put the sustain of that up. Now the reason it's doing that is because I've got pitch modulation. You can see I've got 53.9% there. If I take that pitch modulation off, it doesn't make a huge difference, but it's enough to simulate something getting hit and going down in pitch. For the hats, I just chose something that sounded harmonically rich, and I have, again, no sustain, short attack decay. If I put the sustain up, that's what that would actually sound like. I turn it up a little bit actually. And then I've just banged the EQ off because I've turned that off. It's got a lot more sort of tonality to it, so I didn't want that tonality, I just wanted the high end there. And if I move on to the feedback, this is a single hit, and it is similar to the hat, and it's just going through an echo, and I've automated the feedback of that echo so that it comes up. Hear that building up in the background there. I had to turn this right down because that feedback gets well out of control really quickly. So up and down, and I've got all of them going through send effects as well. And then I've got a secondary echo on it so it doesn't fade out too quick. And again, I'm just cutting off most of that low end. On the percussive sound, you can't really tell much musicality because what I'm doing is I've got that LFO mapped to the sample start point. So that is, there you go. That's what that would sound like without it. It's great. So that's constantly changing the start point, so we get a rich percussive sound that's changing the timbre all the time. Dub pad number 1, or the only dub pad, is and this is just an orchestral section, but I've got it warped. So I've got it warped with Pro, and I'm using the formants and the envelope to change it. So if I turn warp off, But by playing around with the envelope and formant setting, I got this really nice dubby sort of noisy pad, which I thought sounded really cool. Techno detuned. This is just a sample. Plain and simple. Found a sample that I quite liked, and we're not doing anything to it. It just works because it's a really short sample. So again, I am no sustain on it, but if I put the sustain right up, that's actually 2 notes playing at once in the orchestral sample. I'll widen it out so you can hear what's going on with that. So it's that last section there. But it's played higher up the keyboard, so when you play the track, creates this really cool sound, and I've got that going through both the delay and the Valhalla Supermassive, which I'll cover in a tick. And again, I've just rolled the bottom end off that. This one, I haven't given a name, which is really unhelpful. This is the bass type noise. So I've got 2 notes. I've got a louder note and a slightly quieter note because it worked well with the delay on it. And if I go out to that, that's just a single note playing there. If I pull that back, I'll undo that so it's in the right place. That's going through a saturator to add some warmth, and then the echo to give it that dubby thing, and then I added just a tiny little bit of volume there, and again EQing it just to keep it in there because there's a lot of harmonics going on because it's an orchestral sample. There's a few things playing at once. I just wanted to narrow it down into the range that I wanted to keep it. And this scene here is, it's like another detuned techno pad. So again, it's an area where there's actually 2 notes hitting, but I've got 2 of these. If I take them off, so that's 2 delay modules using bubbles, but I've fiddled around with the settings a little bit so it didn't sound too mad. It's the grain delay. The grain delay with the bubbles module and a little bit of playing around on it. But that's really down to sample choice. So if I took it back here, actually sounds quite nice. I'll keep that. And the final one is very orchestral in terms of the sample, which I quite like the sound of. Put it through a phaser and flanger. I've got it looping. I've got a long release time on it for the loop. And it's also going through the echo and then compression just so the kick drum knocks it out when it's going. So all of that together. I also have another track here, which is the drill. I'll turn that on. You can sort of hear that in the background if I solo it. That's my bathroom fitters. If I take that off, it's an intensely irritating, annoying sound, but it turns out I actually created everything in the same key. Go figure that. So I'll play you out on the 16-bar loop. And maybe I'll throw a few shapes also at it. Do you really throw shapes to ambient dub techno? You just sit back and chill, don't you, and appreciate it? Because all you really know what's going on. Thank you very much. All the like, sub and all that sort of thing. If you want to see more of this type of random stuff, cheers. See you later. Catch you at the weekend, hopefully. Bye.